Three, two, one. Yes, we're in. Thank you. Okay, we're live. Apologies for anyone who heard that, but that's just my testing. Okay, we are live. Hello, Asjad. How you doing?
I am good, excited, happy, all the rest of the business just because of what happened earlier today.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a really good day's cricket, to be fair. I mean, especially from a Pakistan point of view, wasn't it? But I think the first 3 days were super competitive. But Pakistan really in day four took reign, didn't they, of the match and took over really in day four, and we saw a little bit of, let's say, dominating play by Pakistan in day four, and in the end, I thought it was a really impressive performance. What were you thinking, though? Actually, before we start, what were you thinking going into day four? Because I want to get your honest opinion about what you thought was going to happen.
Right. So up until 10 overs before stumps yesterday, I thought South Africa were going to be 330 for four. They'd post a score like 420, 430, right? And then declare and then try and bowl Pakistan out. That was my honest thought process. However, because of the I don't know if I should call it this, but basically the rearguard action of YASIR Shah later yesterday and then today with the bowling, especially I think it's the first ball or the first over, Hassan Ali bowled and got the wicket of Maharaj, a ball that reversed just a bit and got him out, which was fantastic. And then things started to go Pakistan's ways. But my opinion was South Africa were going to post a big total. Pakistan would have to chase something around between 160 and 200 maybe, and then they would lose.
Yeah, I know how optimistic and positive you are about Pakistan. So, yeah, not surprising at all, really, was it? But I thought, to be honest with you, Pakistan in the end did a fantastic job. I mean, we talked about the fielding. So, before we actually go into that, are there any specific points that you want to touch upon and we can discuss? Because I know in about 10 or so minutes, I know you don't have much time. So if you are here, of course, we'll answer the questions. But whilst we do this kind of analysis review part of the video and live, do you want to go over a couple of points? We can start with one and I guess discuss it.
Yeah, sounds good. In terms of this day, one thing I was really impressed with, and I know you kind of agree on that, is the field set that Pakistan came up with. The configuration of the field, especially to put pressure onto the batsmen. I think yesterday it took them quite a long time to think about it. But today, I think when they started putting pressure on, and even yesterday, they realized that the more pressure they put on the batsmen, the more they're going to be stuck at the crease. And they got those 3 wickets yesterday because of that. And even today, they had pressure built on the South African batsmen. I was kind of disappointed, though, after a little while. They did kind of ease it up. There was a short leg, but no silly point and no, a silly mid-off or anything like that. But eventually Pakistan came back to their senses and Babar Azam fixed it. And Pakistan got the wickets they needed to. And I was genuinely very impressed. Number one, fielding, as I said. How about you? Did you think the field set, and especially, like, there was another dropped catch today. Well, we don't need to go on to that too much. But yes, it was an easy catch, I must say. It was a skyer at the boundary. And Hassan Ali is just there. And then it drops like a foot in front of him. So honestly, I was a bit ticked off about it. However, Nauman Ali doing Nauman Ali things, as they say. Next ball gets this wicket of that batsman. So it was great. Rabada got out quite cheaply in essence in that case.
Yeah, he did, I thought, because I think Hassan Ali was a bit fortunate in the case that, the drop happened and then next thing you know, you got bowled. Are you laughing at my little ticker at the bottom? Yeah, exactly. 17:40 UK time. I just need to think about how to do this. So for anyone who is watching now or watches it later, it's just I was thinking about how to do this video, and I thought the best way to do it is because me and Usher were discussing it, and I just thought the best way to do it is we do like a little review or analysis so that we can kind of get the points across we want to, and then of course, guys, make sure that you put any comments or questions, and I'll make sure that they all get answered in the next like 10-15 minutes or like kind of maximum, I'd say. Yeah, I agree with you. Fielding wise, I thought we were really impressive apart from that one drop. I know in the first innings, Babar Azam dropped on, which was a slightly sharper catch. I just think that really set the tone for the whole Test match, and I would have been surprised. I think as soon as I saw that in the first innings, I was just thinking to myself, we're going to win this, because normally when Pakistan set the tone like that in the field, it then transcends across the whole Test match, and that's kind of what happened. And I think that was really, really impressive. And let's talk about, as you said, the rearguard action, because I think that's really worth noting, because of course Fawad Alam's 100 was mighty impressive. He did end up getting man of the match. So we were both wrong, I think. No. Did you say Fawad Alam? He said YASIR Shah. No, he said YASIR Shah. He said YASIR Shah, and I said Nauman Ali. I'd like to see him get it. So, yeah, but I mean, that's not a bad pick. I mean, his 100 was very, very impressive at the time, and I think at the time, him and Azhar Ali. I mean, Azhar Ali's 50 was super impressive as well, given the circumstances. So, both of them really got Pakistan and I guess steadied the ship is the right way of putting it, because they were 27 for 4, Pakistan 27 for 4, right, in that first innings, and then Azhar Ali and Fawad Alam steadied the ship, a partnership of just under 100, and that's really impressive. And then of course we had Mohammad Rizwan and Fahim Ashraf kind of helped him out, and Fahim Ashraf's 64 was really impressive, I thought, as well. And I think the rearguard action, and I said this to you, I think when we talked about it on the day, it's almost like a flip scorecard, isn't it, really? You've got Fawad Alam getting 109, then Mohammad Rizwan 33, Fahim Ashraf 64, Hassan Ali 21, 24 by Nauman Ali, and 38 by YASIR Shah. And I just think in that first innings, that's so important, because Pakistan's tail never wags, and it's just because we haven't really had a makeup of a team where the bowlers can bat a little bit. And in this case, we did a little bit. And I did look at that tail beforehand, and I thought to myself, I mean, Nauman Ali, I'm not so familiar with it.
He's a pretty decent batsman. I think he's got...
The first shot he played was a solid 4 defenseman. You can tell straight away, can't you? And I, like you said to me, he's a pretty decent batter, I think, when we were discussing on the live. And as soon as I saw that, I just thought to myself, yeah, this guy, he'll be decent, especially for a tail ender. So that was really impressive. And I think overall, the fact that we had those 4 guys 3 guys even get 80 plus runs was super impressive. And that to me did make a big difference in the match. And there's a few, I think, turning points or important factors that led to this victory, I think. What do you think about the tail wagging? I mean, how much of an impact did you think that had? Because to me, that's quite a big impact on the game.
Definitely. It was... So there were, at least in my opinion, there were 3 big things that happened in the Pakistan, in the entire match for Pakistan, that helped kind of churn everything along. Number one was the 100 by Fawad Alam, and then that caused those 3 over 50-run partnerships, Fawad with Azhar Ali, then Rizwan, and then Fahim Ashraf. Then the next is the wicket that YASIR Shah took yesterday, the second wicket of Van der Dussen, and that kind of toll rolled that entire thing. And then today was the crucial wicket that Nauman Ali took, the first wicket Nauman Ali took in, I think it was the 91st over or 92nd over or something like that. So in terms of the tail wagging, yes, that was absolutely huge. I think Pakistan did the right thing by getting bowlers who can bat a bit, because Hassan Ali just scored his first class century for himself about I think last month, honestly. And he kept that form going. Again, looked a bit aggressive and rash in certain circumstances, but I guess that is his way of playing. Nauman Ali on debut did not look like a guy on debut. That's something I've been so impressed with. Technically, it makes sense because he's got, he's played so many years first class cricket that it's hard to say, oh, it's his debut. So in a way, in technical terms, it's a debut, but in a lot of other terms, he is so much more experienced than the rest of the Pakistani bowling lineup all added together. So I was glad, I was impressed with his batting, as you said. Some of the shots, there was a straight drive as well that he hit that was really sweet. And then YASIR Shah coming out and then doing something that, the last time I saw him do it was he got 100, right? Against Australia a year and a bit ago. So he was in that type of form. He's like, you sent me at number 11. You sent me at number 11. I'm not getting that. And then just started to smash over all over the place. He smashed, I can't remember which spinner it was. He smashed him straight down the ground through long on for 6. And shortly after that did get out, but doesn't matter. It was a brilliant wag by the tail, to be honest.
Yeah, it was really impressive. And I think, you know, as we said, I was expecting, you know, around about 100, 110 lead. And the fact that we got to the lead that we did was really impressive. And the 150 plus, you know, lead is just so good for me. In terms of, I guess, let's touch upon that Fawad Alam 100 then, because, you know, he got man of the match. You know, how good was that? And, you know, I said when he hit that 100 in New Zealand, is that going to be a turning point in his career for Pakistan, in the sense that is this going to be the start of him consolidating his place in the side? I think, because someone, I think it was who was it that came onto your channel that we did the live with? I forgot his name. Keshav. Yes, he made a really good point where he said that actually Fawad Alam might not have even played if it wasn't for the you know, the restrictions and the current climate, etc. Because, you know, there's some injuries as well. So I think that was, to me, yeah, to me that was like, okay, what? I just thought it was such an impressive knock, and again he did it again here at home this time, on his home ground. To be fair, how impressive was that knock? And do you think he deserved player of the match?
He deserved it for sure. I think we said it on your stream that it's one of those three had to get it because of the brilliant batting they did. Brilliant performance in all aspects. Fawad Alam took a couple of catches as well, which was really really nice to see. And in terms of his batting, dude, that's what I'm saying. His batsmanship and partnerships together were just so impressive. It's surprising to see. Not surprising, I know why, but basically him not getting a shot in the Pakistan lineup for like 10 years. Right? He wasn't given a chance. He came back. He's played 8 test matches. Out of those, he scored 300s now, right? And 2 of them in a space of 3 test matches, right? If you know what I mean. And he's just done such a fantastic job. One of them in the second innings of a chase, all right? So just bear that in mind. In New Zealand, against that attack. So I absolutely rate him. Been a huge fan of his since he started, because I said something, and it might be a bit controversial. When I saw him and when I saw Ravi Jadeja, I thought both of them were not polar opposites, pretty much the same player, but one in Pakistan and one in India. And then Pakistan dropped theirs, and Ravi Jadeja has become very big in the Indian landscape. Test cricket, T20s, ODIs, IPL, everything. So Fawad Alam unfortunately didn't get that opportunity, but he stuck out there, and now he is showing his class for sure. I'm absolutely impressed. Like, the way he just switched it on. I know, batting with Asjad Ali, it was slow going in that first session. Build the innings slow. Asjad Ali got out. Rizwan came in. Rizwan smashed a couple of 4s. The Fawad Alam was like, oh, I can do that too. He started doing it. But Fahim Ashraf came out. He made 64 of 83, 84 deliveries. Strike rate of 80 in a test match. After getting a 50, it was just fantastic. And I was so glad that, you know, you had someone else doing the aggressive shots, the attacking from one end, and Fawad Alam just playing his game, getting his 100. But the way he got his 100 was in absolute style, coming down the pitch and smashing George Linde, I think it was, for 6 over mid-wicket. And the impressive knock, as you said, but a more impressive, I'd say, you know, celebration with the whole integral celebration, which I really like. And I think he should keep doing it. Because I hope, and I think he might actually perform really well in Rawalpindi as well.
Yeah, I think actually the celebration is funny, right? But it's unique to him, so he should keep doing it, and hopefully, you know, he can do that celebration a lot more. And it's funny because he only does it for hundreds, and that's what he should be doing. When he got to 50, I said this, you know, he nodded to the balcony and said, you know what, hold on, this is nothing. The hundred's coming, and it did. Also, hi, cricketing my life away. If you have any questions, please make sure you put them in the comment section. Thank you very much for joining. Please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the vid as well. Or, well, to the channel even. Subscribe to the channel, but like, comment, and share the vids. Thank you very much. But yeah, we will be answering questions in about 5-10 minutes, I would assume. Asjad, in terms of Pakistan going to the second test match as well, do you think they should make any changes to the team, or do you think this team is perfectly balanced for the next Test match?
I think Pakistan needs to make at least one change, most probably just one change. Think of it this way, Rawalpindi, right? Best example, if you play at Lords or the Oval, you expect, you're going to have, there might be some turn. It's not completely flat, but you might play a spinner or two, right? When you go to Old Trafford or Headingley, will you play a spinner, logically speaking? Right. That's what Rawalpindi's like. Okay, that's what Rawalpindi's supposed to be. It's meant to be a green track. It's meant to be good for seamers, especially. So I would like Pakistan to keep at least one of the spinners, but I think they might actually drop one of the spinners. I don't know which one, but I think they'll drop one of the spinners and bring in Tabish Khan instead. I want them to drop Shaheen Afridi because I think he's been overworked. We've talked about this many, many times. He's been overworked, and he keeps, I think, what he missed, like 2 matches in New Zealand or something like that, and that was it, right? Or Zimbabwe, I can't remember who it was against, but he skipped a couple of matches. But even in that case, that's not enough time off. That is not enough time off for a player of that quality, and he's been playing for so long. He needs some sort of rest, and I think because Pakistan's technically won the series, yes, he is a great bowler, great prospect for the future. I think Pakistan needs to give him one rest. One match is a rest, right? Then in mid to late February, when the T20 start, maybe he can come back. But yeah, I'm kind of not over the fact that he's been played so much. So I think maybe Pakistan will drop Shaheen, or should drop Shaheen, bring in Tabish Khan, and then let's see what they do about the spinners, because maybe they want to give someone like Haris Rauf a chance, which they shouldn't. But maybe they might give someone like Haris Rauf a chance in seaming conditions.
Yeah, I was thinking they might do that. I'm hoping they don't. Hopefully they go with Tabish Khan, as you said. I think realistically, Nauman Ali will get dropped if they're going to drop a spinner, which is a bit harsh considering how well he's bowled. I think the only way that they can get around that, and I'm trying to think if they can, they can't really, to be honest with you. It's quite tough because, with the dynamic we've got at the moment, Fahim Ashraf is a decent seam bowler, but he's not a leading seam bowler. You need someone with a new ball. And to be honest, ideally, I wouldn't have Hassan Ali with a new ball either, to be honest. But given the conditions, etc.
Tabish Khan, I was just going to say Tabish Khan would be the new ball bowler.
Yeah.
But if they go down the route that they're keeping one spinner, then they'll just bring in Tabish Khan for Nauman Ali. And then you have Shaheen and Tabish opening the bowling. Then Hassan Ali and Fahim Ashraf being first and second change. And then Yasir Shah. And maybe if they need a second spinner, they'll get Fawad Alam or Azhar Ali. But I don't think they will. Not in those conditions.
Yeah, I think Shaheen Afridi will perform better when he's got Tabish Khan, and he's got less kind of expectation on him to just get all the wickets. And Tabish Khan's experienced. I know that he hasn't made his Pakistan debut yet, but that doesn't matter because he's experienced in these conditions, and we saw it with Nauman Ali. So
598 wickets in first-class cricket. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, the Anderson of Pakistan's domestic cricket. Before we go on to questions, etc., as well, or just kind of general discussion about the match and also cricket, is there any kind of technical points you want to touch upon, or match points you want to touch upon on the match?
Yeah, I want to talk about 2 points. Number one is to do with, I think Pakistan, when in this second innings they were bowling, I think they got the new ball too early. Yes, they spent 4 or 5 overs, 5, 6 overs with it, the old ball, but I think the new ball should have come in a bit later, because then you could use someone who's bowling, who's reversing the ball, like Hassan Ali, right? He was given a rest straight away. As soon as the new ball came, they gave him a rest. I think maybe he should have bowled a little more. And then when the new ball came, he still bowled with the new ball, because he's the one who's, churning in the hard yards at that time with the old ball, right? He looks the best. And he looked good with the reversing ball, right? I must say, fine, he gets hit for runs, but I think he looked pretty damn good. And I don't think there was a drop, but there were some close calls for sure. I think that was a mistake Pakistan made. And the mistake that I want to just point out very quickly, and again, you can talk to me about it, is South Africa's actual approach with the bat. It was weird. Players like Quinton de Kock playing heaves for no apparent reason throughout. Like Quinton de Kock, Bavuma played very well in the second innings, I must say. He fulfilled his role properly. But I was very disappointed, number one, with Quinton de Kock's batting, and number two, with Faf du Plessis. The pressure that he was put on was just crazy, absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I think the pressure that Quinton de Kock has been under is pretty. I think at the moment he clearly is not in good form whatsoever, and he needs to get some form back. I think, for me, you talk about the new ball and with Pakistan. I actually thought it was a bit strange. What did you think of South Africa having the new ball and then Aidan Markram using a 6-7 over new ball? Like, what's happening there?
Makes no sense.
That's only pretty much as well. And he part-time spinner coming on, and maybe they should have taken it a bit later as well, because Ngidi was getting the ball to reverse a little bit. They were bowling Maharaj, who was getting tan and drifted with their older ball, and then suddenly they took it. And I feel like sometimes teams, they take the new ball so early because they just think, oh, new ball, we're going to get wickets. But sometimes what you don't realize is that you've worked so hard on this older ball, and if it's doing something, you can take that. If you say I don't want the new ball now, it doesn't mean it's going to be gone forever. You can take it 2-3 overs later, and it's about reading the match situation, I think, and that's maybe what Pakistan at the time, as you said, didn't do, and in the same way, I think South Africa didn't do it, and that kind of came out to bite them, because I think at that point Fawad Alam was in, and what happened is he actually liked facing the new ball because his eye was in, and he had he had basically a harder, fresher ball to hit, and it just meant for him that the ball was coming on a bit nicer onto the bat, and he was just thinking, this is great, I think, and from there on, he basically started scoring a bit quicker. What's the second point you wanted to touch upon?
The second point I really want to touch upon. Well, I actually did touch upon it, but I'll think of another one. No problem.
No, it's fine. We can start asking. Answering some of the questions that we've got. We've got a couple, and then we can just go from there. Okay, Cricketing My Life Away again. Thank you very much for joining. Why did Nauman Ali take so long to debut? And we're saying he might get dropped for the next one. Asjad, what do you think? Why did he take so long to debut? Because he's 34, I think. He's been quite consistent over the past few years in domestic cricket, similar to, I guess, Tabish Khan. I'm assuming we're going to go a little bit into the selection policies, etc. But what do you think? Do you think maybe he should have been selected earlier, and why hasn't he been? If so,
I think yes, he should have been selected earlier. He should have been selected after. You remember Abdur Rahman for Pakistan? As soon as he left, Pakistan missed a left-arm genuine off spinner, and they had Zulfikar Babar for a little while, but then he went away as well. So I think that's when Nauman Ali should have actually debuted for Pakistan a few years ago. The big reason, you might know a bit of it as well, but basically the big reason is that he was from the province of Sindh, which basically means that they don't touch players from there. They think, no, we're going to use Punjabis, we're going to use Pathans, we're not going to use anyone from Sindh. That, I'm telling you, that's the honest truth. There are some sort of conflicts internally which I don't fully understand. However, that is the literal reason why initially Fawad Alam wasn't picked, Tabish Khan wasn't picked, Nauman Ali wasn't picked. Mohammad Wasim, who's the current chief selector, he's actually made a point to say, I don't care about these boundaries, as in border boundaries between the provinces. I care about the actual player. Yes, even in that case, he didn't select someone who's been performing really well, like Usman Salahuddin. But maybe he might in the next few selections. Who knows? But at this stage, I think he made a good decision bringing players who have not had that good of an experience or have not had the experience in international cricket and given them an opportunity. So that's the big reason why Nauman Ali took so long to debut. As you can tell, he definitely deserved it. He took 6 wickets on debut, which is just brilliant. And just a stat I want to tell you, Fazan, he is on debut of spinners from Pakistan. I think this is the second best debut performance by a spinner from Pakistan in Test cricket ever in a Test match. So that's very impressive. Top, I think, was Abdur Rahman, who's a left-arm off spinner in Karachi quite a while ago. So yeah, that's the reason.
Thank you very much, Asjad. Yeah, I think the selection policy for Pakistan has been pretty. Let's say I don't want to go too much into the politics of it, but it hasn't been great, I think, over the past few years. I think picking someone like him now, clearly, I I think picking him now shows that you shouldn't be what's the word? You shouldn't be what's the word? What I'm trying to find. You shouldn't be picking players so early on, right? For no reason. They might have a bit of talent, but they need that. I guess they need that experience in first-class cricket, don't they? To, I guess, make sure that they get that all-round experience, and also they find their game, because some players, they don't have that consistency coming into international cricket, and there's a lot of pressure on young shoulders, especially if you're coming to a team like Pakistan at the moment that aren't at the top of their game generationally. So I think, yeah, I agree with you, Asjad, for sure. Cricketing my life away said, thanks, Asjad. So yes, thank you, Asjad. Very good explanation. What should South Africa do in the second test? What do you think, Asjad?
No, you tell me, Fazan. What do you think? What should South Africa do?
Okay, I think South Africa, to be honest with you, the first 3 days were very competitive, I thought. The first 3 days were very, very competitive. And then after that, you got a point where Pakistan kind of just took over with that rearguard action, as you said. And then I think batting is a big thing that they need to improve on. De Kock has been so poor. He's played rash shots. He thinks it's a T20 match for some reason. He just hasn't been in the right frame of mind. And I know he's not particularly happy captaining. And that kind of seems like it's showing in his batting. It seems like he's not interested and he kind of doesn't want to be there almost. And that seems a little bit disappointing for me. There's a positive in there that Markram's got runs. Elgar got some runs in the first innings as well. Du Plessis will need to stand up, and Van der Dussen, those type of innings that Van der Dussen and Markram played, they'll need to play a couple more of those, I think. And the biggest issue, really, I think for me, is that you look at the scorecard in the second innings, and you've got Rabada 1, Nortje 0, Ngidi 3, George Lind 11. Like, these guys need to do better, like in that, I guess in that innings, really. And they're at a point where they lost. Let's have a look. So they lost 11. They lost 11. They lost 4 wickets for 11 runs in that second innings, which is really, really poor.
They also lost, I think it's around about like 9 wickets in 70 runs or 80 runs, something like that.
Yeah, they did. You're right. They did. They lost. Yeah. So they actually. Yeah, they lost. They lost 9 wickets for. Yeah. That's just ridiculous. For 80 runs, it was 80 runs. So that's just ridiculous. I just think they need to be looking at their batting and thinking we need to adapt better to the conditions. Bowling wise, George Lind, I think for me, I don't know if I'd have him in there. I think I'd put in Shamsi. But then the issue with that is it weakens your batting. So what do you do? They could maybe bring in someone like Mulder, because you said that in Rawalpindi the conditions are going to be more seam friendly. So you bring in someone like Mulder for George Lind. I do think that helps your batting a little bit more, because I think he's a slightly better batsman, and he bowled very, very well in the Sri Lanka series. He was actually a standout for me. I know that was at home, but I think he would be quite a good addition. Apart from that, I wouldn't change much. Go on.
Yeah, that'll be close to home conditions for South Africa for sure, because the bounce is a lot truer compared to here. The ball died quite a bit, especially on this low pitch. But Rawalpindi, usually it's not that case. It's very bouncy, for lack of a better term. It's probably the best competition-wise, the best pitch in Pakistan. Just a point on the South African front. So what should South Africa do in the second test? Thank you, Anap Coker, for your question. Really appreciate it. But honestly, all I want to say is, with regards to that, is South Africa's batting. Have you realized when their top order fires, the lower order doesn't? And when their lower order fires, the top order doesn't? And I was on Cricket Fanatics magazine. I was looking through some of their video, the one that they did as a review. And in that, there was this guy who was absolutely furious at the fact that South Africa can't be consistent with the bat. What are they doing? And I thought, this is exactly what we were saying about a month ago when Pakistan was in New Zealand, that when the top order performs, the lower order doesn't. When the lower order performs, the top order doesn't. And it seems like it's the same thing. And where we're seeing now, number one, everyone in the chat, please like, share, subscribe this video, subscribe to the channel, do all that good stuff. It really helps Quality Shot. But secondly, I think what they genuinely need to do is figure out a way of controlling players like Quinton de Kock, right? they need to tell them, like, he's the captain. He should take a lot more responsibility. I just quickly want to mention Babar Azam didn't bat particularly well either, though, I must say, right? Babar Azam in the second innings batted okay, but then he got tripped up by the same bowler, but this time he misread the spin, if it was spinning a lot or if it was the slider or anything like that. So that's something Pakistan, Babar Azam needs to work on. But both captains need to work on their batting skill, because it just wasn't the best, was it, for both of them?
Yeah, I agree. I think it was Babar Azam. I think for me, it's slightly disappointing. The two ways he got out, both times LBW to Maharaj, and you don't normally see someone get out in the same way like that. So that was pretty disappointing, especially a player of his caliber, who's class. He really is, and even the South African commentators were saying that he is just he's a phenomenon, right? He really is, and I think in that way, you just need to think about it. And Quinton de Kock just didn't apply himself, I think, is the biggest thing for me. He really didn't, and that's, I think, it does rub off on a team, doesn't it? Like, you have to say, if your captain doesn't look like he's up for it, then that does rub off on the team's attitude. And I think, look, on the whole, let's touch upon their bowling, actually. Asha, what do you think of South Africa's bowling on the whole?
On the whole, I thought to myself that Rabada bowled really well both innings. I think Rabada was great. But the big issue I saw was Anrich Nortje, and it's absolutely amazing, right? Okay, someone's actually written that. Okay, so Anrich Nortje, I think, apart in the first innings, thank you, Lost and Found. Thank you for joining. So Anrich Nortje, when he was bowling in the first innings, he has a stat that says his bowling average is 36 in the first innings and 21 in the second innings. And it was very, very evident, because in the first innings, he was getting spanked. He was the equivalent of Hassan Ali to Pakistan. Nortje was to South Africa. And he tried to bowl too short, then he tried to bowl too full, and he was just trying to bowl really, 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 really quick, which just didn't make sense, especially on that pitch. Yes, when you're trying to bounce someone out, when you're trying to bowl in the right lines. And what he realized in the second innings, which I thought was pretty good, was that he knew he needed to bowl within the line of the stumps, which is how he got a lot of his, not a lot, but like a couple of his wickets, because he was bowling straight. He was bowling straight, and the ball kept deviating because of that variable bounce. We talked about the 3 deliveries that Nortje bowled to Babar Azam. They all died all 3 times, and they were they were back of a length deliveries, right? So I think I wasn't impressed, but I thought their pace bowling was going to be good anyway. I thought Maharaj did a pretty decent job for what he did, but George Lind is probably the weak link, for me. And Ngidi, he was brought into the side as a replacement for Shamsi, and he didn't do a bad job. He did what he needed to, but again, the Pakistani batsmen, I think we talked about this. I think Matt was in the chat, and he said Pakistan should have been 162 for 5 when they were 150 for 1 or something like that. And or some stat, I can't remember. There was some really interesting stat which basically said that Pakistan was batting a lot better than they're supposed to. That's why the WinViz or the CricViz was saying something else to compare it to what actually happened. So I think less South Africa's bowling, more Pakistan's batting was really good.
Yeah, I think for sure Pakistan's batting, I think the application, especially in that second innings, was really, really impressive. It's funny because you look at it and you just think, this is such an un-Pakistani like innings, isn't it? It really is. Like the whole match, I said to you, the biggest word I could think of for Pakistan's display throughout this whole test match, the one word I'll describe it is disciplined. And that's not normally something you associate with a Pakistan test team, just a Pakistan team in general. And I just think on the whole, I was really impressed by that. And it just seemed to me that the kind of attitude they showed throughout, and we mentioned it before about the fielding on day one, that set the tone, I think, for the rest of the test match. And, Babar Azam didn't, maybe play as well as he could have. However, I think the rest stepped up. And that's what was great, because I think for me, Babar Azam on the whole has just been the one that we've been having to rely on constantly. But now he's thinking to himself, actually, I've got people who can chip in. Like Mohammad Rizwan's got 50s. Fawad Alam's now got another 100 in his second series back. Even Asjad Ali got a little bit of a start. and the tail, they chipped in as well for 80+ runs, as we said. So I thought that was really, really impressive. We've got some interesting questions here, actually. Lost and Found says, does du Plessis need to be dropped? Oh, what do you think? That's pretty controversial.
Not because of one bad match, I'd say. The only thing I'd say in regards to that is he just needs to clear his technique. So, when he was batting to a spinner in Pakistan, his backlift was too high, right? I think his backlift should have been a lot lower, especially considering where he's playing, how low the pitch is, or how slow the pitch is, sorry. So I think that's a technique change that he needs to do, especially on these tracks. South Africa's record in Asia is absolutely horrendous at the moment, as you know already. They haven't won a test match since 2013, 2014. So, yeah, they need some rethinking, but not to drop du Plessis. No way. I know he's 36, but he scored 199 like 2 matches ago. I'm not going to drop him. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. Whether he needs to be dropped, I think he probably doesn't have too long left in his test career, I'd assume, unless he starts scoring runs. Sorry?
Couple of years, I think. Couple of years,
I'd say. Yeah, exactly. Abd Ali needs to get dropped. He wants everyone to get dropped, Lost and Found. Abd Ali needs to be dropped. What do you think, Asjad? Because to be honest with you, I was thinking this when he got out today, and I wasn't thinking necessarily he should get dropped, but I was just thinking the way he got out going so hard at the ball was pretty disappointing. And it was first ball of the final session, the middle session after lunch. And I just thought, why has he been doing that when he's been playing quite well? Play it with softer hands, and he chopped on. And I just thought to myself, he just can't get a break, because he actually looked okay before then. He was playing some nice, flowing drives. His timing seemed to be there. It doesn't look like he's completely out of sorts, and his game seems to be quite organised. But to me, it's a case of he's getting a few starts but not being able to convert to anything substantial. So what do you think about Abd Ali?
Again, Abd Ali, you mentioned very clearly that he was going too hard on the ball, but that's because he was trying to be attacking. He was trying to be aggressive, wasn't he? He wasn't trying to, nerdle about. He was like, right, we're going to finish it in an hour, right? We need to finish it really quickly. Let me just go for this. And I think, was it Norkia? It was Norkia, wasn't it? So Norkia was bowling, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to try and whack this through the covers. And because Norkia's quick, he assumed the ball would be a lot further on so he could smash it straight away. But I think the pitch, because it's slow, kind of slowed up the delivery for him to get out on. I don't think he'll be dropped. Let's put it this way. I don't think he'll be dropped, but I think he should be dropped. But I don't think he'll be dropped.
Very complex answer. I wonder who'd come in. Maybe Azhar Ali at the top, I guess, is what you'd have to do.
Yeah, Azhar Ali, yeah. Imran Butt should not be dropped. Goodness me, are you kidding me? Yeah. It's his debut.
But then who'd bat at 3 then?
South Shakil. They'll probably bring in South Shakil.
That's a big call though, bringing in someone inexperienced in at 3, because 3 is a really important position. That's the issue, I think. We'll see.
It's Pakistan. It's Pakistan.
Yeah, yeah, fine. It's Pakistan. Okay, it says, does Fawad have a long test future given his technique? That's a really, really good question, actually.
I'll answer this, and then I'll let the batsman in you talk. So I saw a video of Ramiz Raja trying to explain the technique that Fawad Alam has, okay? And to be honest, if it works for him, great. I think, if you think of it this way, he is even more open than Chanderpaul, right? Shivnarine Chanderpaul was pretty open. His right leg goes behind his body, right? When he's standing there waiting for the fast bowler to come. So I think he'll last because of the way he's played for the past 10 years. He's developed this new technique for the past 4 years. And according to him, he's improved more and more because of this technique. So honestly, I'm kind of looking forward to his, rise back into the Pakistan side of things. And hopefully he sticks around for at least a couple of more years, especially after, these 200s. If he keeps this form going, there's a not a meme, but basically there's a huge discussion going on about if Pakistan had picked him when he was peaking in 2013, 2014, Pakistan, he would have 30 test centuries or something like that, because that's how many, based on the current mathematical equation, he would have played 80 tests, so 30 centuries. And yeah, he's so good. He's very impressive for sure.
Yeah, I'll quickly then touch upon that. So I think at first his technique looks really strange, doesn't it? I think for everyone, Shiv Narayan Chanderpaul-esque, I guess. The one thing I'd say is that when I watch him, I think someone's running in, and as the bowler's running in, he does go into a relatively conventional position. It's still not, the classical position that you'd normally see a batsman. He's still quite open in terms of his stance, but it's not as crazy as when he's first at the crease, let's say. It's a weird one because the issue that I have with him slightly is getting across to that off stump, but he seems to have been doing it pretty well. And considering his domestic form, I know domestic form doesn't always translate into international form, and we've seen that with a lot of players in the past. But he has been knocking on the door. I think for it has been 10 years, and he's been a consistent performer. I do think he should have a run in the team, and he's clearly scored runs now. So he's doing a good job to consolidate his place. But most batsmen have some flaws, and it's going to be interesting to see if someone does exploit a flaw, find one, how he deals with it. And that's, I guess, how you find out whether a batsman is going to really make it at this level and do something pretty, what's the word? I guess pretty special at this level. Any bounce outside off stump, and he may become a walking wicket caught from keeper to square on offside. Ooh, what do you think, Asjad?
Isn't that every batsman?
No, that's not every batsman. That's anyone who can play off the back foot well on offside. They'll be able to do it. Babar Azam I don't think it's a walking wicket if it's bouncing.
I think Babar Azam has two weaknesses. I don't know if I spoke to you about that.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. So I think one of his weaknesses is that offside, but this is a slightly different issue. It's more to do with the uncertainty in the bounce and everything. But especially if it's someone bowling around the wicket, right arm fast bowler, someone like Kyle Jamieson, or Mackay Antony back in the day, or even with bowlers like Nortje, he uses the crease quite well. If he was bowling something like that and the ball was reversing, it pitched on off and just moved away, bounced a bit, yes, that would get anyone. But that could be one of the weaknesses, for lack of a better term, in Fawad Alam's technique. But definitely, I'm happy with the way he's batting. As long as he keeps getting runs, I don't care what his technique looks like.
So, no, I understand what you're trying to say. I think that it's difficult to criticize too much of someone's getting runs, but when you, I guess, look into the crux of it, it'll be interesting to see how he does in different conditions, because obviously he scored that big 100 in New Zealand, but apart from that, he struggled, didn't he, throughout? And he really did struggle. Yes, and he struggled with the bounce. That's the issue. He struggled with the bounce. So that is a question mark, I think, still around his game. So we'll see. We'll see once he starts playing on more bouncier pitches whether he can do it or not. So this is my half mumble who's chaos. I think half mumble agrees. He moves too much and pokes at the ball to be able to face the best tall quickies in Test cricket.
Yeah. To be honest, I must say my dad says exactly the same thing. So I had this discussion with my dad almost every time I watch Fawad Alam bat. So I see the point of view. I think he's good at leaving the ball. He's pretty decent at leaving the ball. So if it is the bounce and everything, I think, and if it's outside off, more likely than not. And again, I'm a tail ender, for lack of a better term. So my technical prowess with the batting, that's why I passed that to you, Fazan. But from my understanding, even if he does have that open stance, even if he is kind of prone to probing at the ball when it comes into that kind of zone, he leaves the ball pretty well. He's one of the, out of all the Pakistani batsmen, he leaves it so well, or at least he plays and misses so well that it kind of doesn't get him out.
Thank you for the question, Hummel. Really appreciate you coming on. Now I don't want to disagree with anything. No, I'm just I think when it talks to poking at the ball, it's interesting because you don't want to go too hard at the ball like someone like Abid Ali does, but you don't also want to go half-heartedly at the ball. And so there's a fine balance between timing and making sure that you just, your timing's there and you're getting across and your head's in line and your head's still. And I think Fawad Alam, as you said, Asjad, I think he does leave relatively well. I think, as I said, there's still question marks around how well he's going to deal with the bounce. yes, you can say that he leaves well, but eventually he's going to have to play those shots. And if someone just peppers him, he will get to a point where he thinks, I have to play, as in, and he'll get frustrated because I don't know how patient a one batsman can be. So I think that's something that maybe he needs to work on, especially with, Rabada's not so, he's quite tall, but he's not super tall. And also these conditions are not very bouncy. So, for example, it'd be interesting to see him against Rabada in South Africa. Now that I would like to see how well he does there. I think that would be a good test. And I need to look at the schedule actually for Pakistan. I don't know if we're playing many away tours. I know we're playing England in the summer.
We're playing South Africa in April.
Okay, so that would be a really good test because I'm assuming he will be in there unless he has a complete dramatic loss of form. And then he'll also be playing in the summer in the UK, which I would normally go and see one of the days, but I don't know if it'll happen because of the current climate. And yeah, so again, that would be interesting to see how he plays there. Again, someone against Jofra Archer, Mark Wood. Let's see how he does, I think.
It'll be. I think March, April time is Pakistan playing South Africa in South Africa. Then you've got the Asia Cup in June, and then you've got Pakistan coming to England. I don't think Pakistan are playing tests, though, are they? They're playing ODIs or
in
T20.
England. Yeah, no, they are. They're playing 2 test matches, I think. Okay. Yeah, one in Lords, though. One in Lords and one. It's not in the Oval. It's somewhere else. Yeah, it's a test match. I think so. I could be wrong. I hope they are though. Normally we do play 2 test matches. But either way, we're playing in South Africa, so that'll be a good test, I think. Even
because I think, and again, it might be that we are playing 2 test matches, but from my memories, if my memory serves me right, England are playing 17 tests, aren't they, this year? And they're playing 4 against India now. They're playing 2 against New Zealand, then 4 against India again, and then the Ashes. So maybe there is one, but I can't fully remember. If there are test matches, that would be interesting. That's what I want to see coming back. Yasir Shah versus Shadab Khan. Oh, that's a good question.
You know what? You're right. I just checked, by the way, about the tours, and you're right that I think it's just ODIs and T20s. Yasir Shah versus Shadab Khan. Who do you pick? I've said this to you, Yasir. I love Shadab Khan, and I still don't think we've seen enough of him at Test cricket because the thing is he offers runs with the bat, although Yasir Shah did as well in this Test match, but normally he doesn't. Let's be honest. But I think playing Shadab Khan gives you more balance. Yasir Shah, how long do you think? Sorry, go on.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm just saying I don't think Shadab Khan is as good a spinner as Yasir Shah in any way, shape, or form. Limited overs, yes, maybe. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Thank you very much. Exactly. What do you go for? You're picking him because of his bowling, right? You're picking him because of his leg spin. That's the reason why I'm picking Yasir Shah. Right? But if you're picking someone who you're like, oh, he'll give me a couple of overs of leg spin, but also give me a few runs with the bat, great. But yeah, I'd go Yasir Shah. Surprisingly, because up until the England series, I was saying, oh no, Shadab Khan. But yeah, since then my thought process has changed that he actually does want to become more of a batsman than just a bowler or an all-rounder or something. So. Yeah, I'd actually go for Yasir Shah. Surprisingly, I'll go for Yasir Shah.
Yeah, because you don't think he's a world-class leg spinner. That's why. I think he's a world-class leg spinner. I don't know whether he's the elite. I think you have elite, world-class, and then you have whatever your average,
and then Fazan, because club level.
Exactly. Club level, exactly. Yeah, exactly, club level. But Shadab Khan, I really hope he doesn't just focus on his batting, and I know that his batting is improving, drastically, and it has. But I want him to stay as an all-rounder and really work on both aspects of his game, because nowadays you don't see too many people who are equally as good in both disciplines, and there's not too many around, and we know that, and it's because a lot of people find it hard to practice and focus on both of them and get results in both. But for him, he's so talented. He's still young. He's got time. I just think he needs to be careful because he's very, very talented. At one point, wasn't he number 1 number 1 T20 bowler? Wasn't he? Yeah. I mean, that just shows that. I mean, yes, okay, it's T20s, but he's still got the ability. And I think I would love to see him in test matches. But I think Yasir Shah's probably got a couple more years in him, doesn't he? I would assume so. But after he's gone, Shadab Khan's got a long look. If he does become a proper all-rounder, he could do it, I think.
Yeah, 100%. One thing I just want to say, there's an interview. I don't know if you've seen it. It was Steve Smith interviewing Virat Kohli and Virat Kohli interviewing Steve Smith, right?
Yeah, I saw
in that
that.
interview.
That's why I'm thinking about it. Yeah.
Yeah, because Smith said that, oh, I wanted to become a batsman, so I let my leg spin go. And it seems like that's what Shadab Khan's doing, because he said in an interview a while ago, oh, for me, I want to be like Steve Smith. Okay? So that's my basis of why I think if you do want to pick him, if he gets good enough for his batting, like the only all-rounder I can think of who can get into any side right now because of just their batting or just their bowling, I can't believe I'm going to say this, is Ben Stokes. Okay? Everyone else, they're better at one thing than the other. But the biggest plus point of Ben Stokes is he can get into the England side as a batsman or as a bowler. So that's something Shadab Khan, if he does want to be an all-rounder, he needs to improve his leg spin. Honestly, you notice something with when you listen to someone like Naseem Shah when he was doing when he was bowling in New Zealand. He said he had, it's a quote that he basically said, it's really difficult to bowl on the same place over and over and over and over and over again in test matches, and that's been difficult for me. I think Shadab Khan, we haven't seen him do that yet. So in my mind, that's still the thought process, that he isn't used to pitching the ball on the same place over and over and over again. That is Yasir Shah, but he's more consistent than, someone like Shadab Khan.
Yeah, and Yasir Shah, I think it's worth noting that Yasir Shah has improved his game constantly. He constantly works on his craft, and Shane Warne said that he did a lot with him, and before that, Abdul Qadir did a lot of work with Shane Warne, and then you see Yasir Shah trying to improve and trying to adapt. And before, I remember seeing him in England a few years back, and he just bowled too quick, too flat. He was very impatient. He wanted to always get LBW and bowls, and he wasn't trying to set batsmen up necessarily. He was just like, you know what? No, I can just bowl a wicket-taking ball. Let's just go. I can do it straight right here, right now. I don't need to set batsmen up. He just thought, I can bowl that magic ball every time. And I think now he has got to a place, I think, where he's thinking to himself, I probably need to be a bit more clever about the way that I bowl, because one, I'm the lead spinner, I'm the spearhead, and especially in home conditions, I'm supposed to be the main weapon here. So I need to bowl, yes, attackingly, but in a clever, calculated way, and that's what he does, and he'll set batsmen up now. So there was an example for Du Plessis, for example. He bowled wider, grip and turn, away from the bat, that just stock ball, right? But bowling in a very good length as well, where Du Plessis just thought, I'm not going to play at that, I'm going to leave that, and he got that bounce off the surface because he was putting revs on the ball. And then next thing you know, what happens? In comes the googly, and it's a bit straighter. And I was saying that his googly deserted him at one point, but clearly it hasn't here. And it just set Du Plessis up, because he was thinking, I'm just going to get the same thing. Or he was probably thinking, you know what? I'm not going to get a googly here though. I'm going to get maybe a straighter one, but I'm not going to get a googly. And it just completely deceived him. And I think that was really clever bowling by Yasir Shah, and he set him up in a really, really good way. Yeah. Hi, Dayal, how are you? Thank you very much for joining. What did you think, Dayal, about the Pakistan versus New Zealand match?
South Africa.
I thought Pakistan, New Zealand. I'm like caught in the past because they're talking. Sorry, don't ask me about Pakistan, New Zealand, because we got smashed in that series. Ask me about Pakistan, South Africa, because that's what we're discussing. We won. Well, we haven't won the series. We won the first test match anyway. What do you think, though? Yeah, go.
Go.
I was going to say, what do you think about how the rest? Do you think Pakistan will win the second test match given the conditions?
Given the conditions, this is a more competitive match, isn't it? Bouncier track, greener pitch, seaming conditions, right? The South African batsmen won't have to play slow, low deliveries as often. There is a truer bounce in the pitch. So, in my personal opinion, I think this would be an equal contest. I thought South Africa was going to win this match, mainly because I thought Pakistan was going to be complacent, and I was wrong. So I can't eat crow because I don't think it's halal, but it might be. I don't know. But for the sake of argument, I'm eating crow in this certain situation. But secondly, I think in Rawalpindi, it'll probably be South Africa would look a lot stronger, especially with the bowling they have. If you're saying Mulder comes in for George Linder, which is a good shout, then yeah, 100%. They've got Mulder, they've got Norkia, they've got Ngidi, and they potentially they have Rabada, right? Their bowling attack will be brilliant, and their batsmen will find it a lot easier to bat. Someone like Quinton de Kock, who struggled, someone like Faf du Plessis, who struggled, they'll struggle a lot less in those conditions, 100%.
We'll see. We'll see. It depends how well Pakistan bowl, I guess, isn't it? Really, the seamers especially. There'll be a lot more emphasis on how well they bowl. How good then was Rabada in this Test match? First of all, how good was he in this Test match? I mean, obviously he was on the losing side in the end, but he was, I think, the biggest bright spark in terms of bowling, and also just he's now the third quickest 200 wickets, I think it is. How good is he just as a bowler in Test cricket?
Right. In this match, right, this is the thing. He is the best. He was the best seamer on show. He was the best seamer on show in every way, shape, and form. Only thing that eluded him slightly was he wasn't getting the reverse that, Ngidi was or Hassan Ali eventually got. But didn't really matter. He bowled very well. He was the most consistent out of all of the fast bowlers. So Rabada gets that 100%. Then if you think of it as a bowler, Test cricket bowler, 200 wickets, 44 matches. As you said, the third quickest to 200, the fourth or fifth youngest or something like that to 200 wickets as well. And he's got a strike rate of under 40 now. Okay, he's got a bowling average of 23, is it? Somewhere around there. So yeah, he's an absolute beast. We said this yesterday and the day before and the day before. Rabada and Pat Cummins are so good. And it's great to see both of them playing at the same time. So when Australia and South Africa, hopefully, if the March series actually goes ahead, right, or the February, whenever it is, if that series goes ahead, then that's going to be a brilliant competition between, for me, it'll be Cummins against Rabada. Again, bowler bias, but that's how I'll be looking at it for sure.
Yeah, I think Rabada is just, I don't want to touch upon it too much, but because I think everyone, including you, knows what I think about how he's just incredible is the word for it, I think, in terms of a bowler in this day and age, especially. There's a lot less of, I guess, there's a lot less on offer for bowlers nowadays, let's say. And I said this on your video as well, that there's only, and I'll very briefly repeat what I said, there's only a few bowlers in the world that have, two things. And the two things are that X factor, which someone like Mitchell Stark has, and that line and length, which someone like a Hazelwood will have, right? As a good example, because they're both from Australia. You combine those two things, and there's only two bowlers at the moment I can think of that have that in terms of seamers. That's Pat Cummins, who's the number one Test bowler at the moment, and Rabada. And that's because Rabada has an X factor that he can pop up in his spurt and he'll get you wickets. He's a wicket-taking bowler, but he can also bowl consistently. That line and length, he'll get that seam movement. He swings the ball away from the right-hander as well. And he's got that X factor with a new ball, like someone like Starter does. So for me, he's the perfect blend. And I think he'd walk into any team. I really do. That's just how good he is. And, if he keeps on going on the trajectory he's going to be one of the greats of the games, that's for sure. Because at the moment, he is 100% in my top three bowlers. Definitely in Test cricket, if not in all three formats.
Yeah, hard to agree with that. Hard to disagree with that. Sorry, because as you know, I said it on our video on Cricket4Us 2.0. However, I took that part out because I wanted us to talk about Rabada here, right? So no worries. I think Rabada is an absolute genius. And Pat Cummins, you're right about all four of those bowlers. I would actually add Jasprit Bumrah in there. However, Jasprit Bumrah has only played Test cricket for 2 years. He hasn't played a Test match at home yet, so shouldn't be able to, judge his entire performance until this series against England. And let's see how he does in that. But yeah, definitely those two are. Oh.
No, I don't think I'm gonna go first because Asjad, you're a bit biased. I think I'm a bit biased as well. I don't think Bumrah's the best. I think Pat Cummins is the best Test bowler, and I think then Rabada, I would say. And on current form, if you talk about current form, I think Carl Jamieson's up there. I really do. I think Shaheen Afridi's got the. I think Shaheen Afridi's got the ability to be, but he's just been a bit running to the ground. What about all three formats, actually, Asjad? How would you rank your bowlers in all three formats? Top 5.
Top 5?
You do
Give
top
me
4.
time to prepare. This is live. Right?
Exactly. You have to come on. There's no stats. You just have to think about. It's all instinctive.
Instinctive, right? Okay. Just instinctive. Not considering the fact that Bumrah took 1 wicket in 8 matches after his injury. If I take that out of it completely, right?
No, you can't. You have to take it in.
But he got into great form afterwards, though.
Yeah, he did.
Must say. He did. Right? So at this very moment, probably fast bowlers, right? Pace bowlers you talk about. So I would say Pat Cummins, Kalisor Bada, all format. Maybe no, I don't know about Jofra Archer. I was thinking Jofra Archer, but I don't think he's experienced enough for me to kind of put him in this kind of bracket. You
Mitchell Stark. I mean, he's not as his strike rate is still pretty good in Test matches, and obviously in ODIs and T20s. He hasn't been great,
a bit, doesn't he? Well, if you want, all right. If I pick 5, I'd probably pick Rabada, Cummins, Stark, Hazelwood, and then probably Mohammad Shami.
Oh, so Bumrah's not even in there.
Yeah, well, if I have to consider the last, those 8 matches where he only took 1 wicket, right? After when he came back from injury, then I would bring in Shami instead of Bumrah. Otherwise, I would have put Bumrah in. But Bumrah's form went down and then it's gone back up. But yeah, see, I can be unbiased too.
No, yeah, it's all about being unbiased. Yeah, I'd go. I agree. Bumrah not in Tests, but limited overs maybe. Yeah,
I was genuinely right. So this is a very good point, and the next comment is exactly what I was thinking. I was genuinely considering Trent Bolt instead of Mitchell Stark, right? But they're quite similar, right? Fair enough. Again, this is live. I have not prepared this. I kick out Mitchell Stark and I bring in Trent Bolt.
Because you've been swayed by the comments. Exactly. And you want to please everyone, so that's fine. You know what? Carl Jamieson has been so good in Test matches. I'd love to put him in there, but the issue I have with him is that he hasn't bowled particularly well in T20s. He's kind of got slapped a little bit in T20s, and he's still pretty inexperienced. So I don't think he's actually played any ODIs yet, has he? He might have played a couple, but he hasn't played many. Yeah, and Trent Bolt's really good. I mean, even Tim Southey's very good. I think as a unit they're very good. I just don't know whether there's one particular standout for me at the moment in all 3 formats.
Yeah, I just thought, and I can't believe I forgot this guy, right? If I go just Test Neil Wagner, I should be prepared. You're right. I should be prepared.
I was roasting you.
That's fine. I don't mind. Live is alive. Oh man, that's a good question though. But yeah, I'd probably bring in Neil Wagner then. If I was to pick the top 5 Test bowlers, and I'm just going Test bowlers, it would be Pat Cummins, Kalisor Bada, Neil Wagner, Mohammad Shami, and then probably Hazelwood in that case. Not Mitchell Stark. Yeah, but if I go all formats, then Trent Bolt gets in instead of Stark.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because Stark, if you asked me a year ago, I would have said Stark 100%. But the last year he's had hasn't been particularly good. 2020 wasn't a particularly good year for him. We'll see whether he does better in the T20 World Cup, although it is in India. So I don't know how effective he's going to be, but that format he should still be pretty effective in. I don't know what it is with him. He seems to be a little bit off the boil. But Hazelwood's been such a good performer. Pat Cummins has been so good in all 3 formats as well. And Hazelwood, I don't think he was even included in some of the ODIs and T20s. And then they brought him in. And next thing you know, he's like, boom, I can do this all.
He's gained 10 kilometers, 6-7 miles per hour speed in the past 2 years. Like I do this comparison because to me, about 3 years ago, Vernon Philander, or 2 years ago, sorry, Vernon Philander, Mohammad Abbas, and Josh Hazelwood were similar bowlers. Vernon Philander bowled really well, retired. Mohammad Abbas cut down his speed by 10 kilometers or something, right? And then Hazelwood took that 10 kilometers that he's dropped, picked it up, and started bowling absolute amazing bolts. Like he's bowling 90 miles an hour. Josh Hazelwood. It's like Glenn McGrath at the in 1999, right? Bowling 90-mile-an-hour deliveries. He wasn't. He'd never go above 86, 87, right? But Josh Hazelwood, that extra pace, that bounce, all three of them are like what, like 6'4", 6'5"? The bounce they get, the speed they have, and in terms of line and length, he's so consistent, Josh Hazelwood. So yeah, he has to be in there.
Yeah, and the seam movement he gets is, I mean, it's just that little nibble off the seam, off the pitch, isn't it? And then he just nicks. How many times did Kohli get out to Hazelwood in that series? And look, I'm not even trying to troll Indians. I'm just saying it because that's just how good Hazelwood was in that series.
One match, so I guess once or twice was on.
No. In the limited overs as well. The limited overs, he got in pretty much every match. Yeah, I remember because there was all these memes going around. I of course didn't share any of them. I was just saying, "Oh, okay, that's interesting." No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. But Hazelwood has picked up pace, as you said. Imagine if Muhammad Abbas was going 90 miles an hour, but at the lines of length. I mean, it would never happen. Who was it? Shah Bakhtar, by the way, said, Dayal, if you're in the chat, he said this to me. Dayal said when I went on Cricket Fan Corner, he said, Shah Bakhtar said, I think it was actually Mansahaj said to me, Shah Bakhtar said that if he had a couple of months with 3 months or 6 months with Muhammad Abbas, he could get to bowling one. He said he would bowl 140 Ks.
Right. On that bombshell, as the great Jeremy Clarkson would say, back to you, Fazan. I have to go. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be on this platform. We've been here over an hour. You know, I was meant to be here 20 minutes.
Yeah,
right?
thank you. I was wondering, I was like, when is he going? I was like, oh, it's fine, okay.
That's brilliant. Absolutely. Pace loss by Abbas has made him an average bowler. Hazelwood, a better version. Exactly. Thank you. Thank you for calling out when I have screwed up. So thank you, Mr. KS. I appreciate that. But I will be prepared every time I'm live. Therefore, I will never be live ever again. Right? Okay. Thank you very much. Take care. See you guys later.
Oh, okay. Do you have any more questions? Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I think 100% pace losses just it's done a boss really because I remember seeing him in England 2017. 2017, I think it was. No, actually a bit later, even 2018, I think it was actually. And I watched him, and at that point he was bowling maybe early 80s, but now he's kind of gone maybe early to mid 80s, but now he's gone down to late 70s to early 80s, and unfortunately it means that he just has to be even more consistent than he already is. And we saw in England in the summer that he'll still get wickets because like he'll get someone like Ben Stokes out. He got him out with a cracking delivery that seamed away from left-hander and hit top off stump, but Ben Stokes was batting like 5 feet out of his crease. But I think the issue with him is that now he needs to make up even more so for lack of pace, and it definitely doesn't help his case that he's lost, a couple of more yards, which hasn't been good. Okay, let me just wrap up the scorecard and also actually what went on, because this was originally supposed to be a match review and we've gone on a little journey, which is good because I like all the questions. So thank you all for everyone for all the questions, and also thank you for tuning in. Please make sure you do like the video and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you very much. It really does help. And share the vids as well. So just to summarize, Pakistan winning it pretty comfortably on day 4 anyway. Wrapped up the games by 7 wickets, won by 7 wickets even. And man of the match went to Fawad Alam, which I thought I could have easily given it to someone like YASIR Shah and Nauman Ali, who bowled extremely well. I think given it was his debut, picked up a 5 in the process as well. And YASIR Shah and him both scored some vital runs in that first innings to help the tail wag. Overall, I thought it was an 8 out of 10 performance in the field by Pakistan. And I think they really set the tone early doors with it. And eventually, we had 3 very competitive, I think, days of cricket. But in day 5 or day 4 even, Pakistan just took over, and that was kind of aided by the tail wagging. And Hassan Ali got, he got a wicket on the first ball of the day, cleaning up Maharaj, and that basically was the start of the end for South Africa. But looking forward to the second test match as well. I'll release this video after this broadcast, so feel free to have a watch or share it with anyone. And thank you again for everyone tuning in. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much.